I have read a lot of fantasy retellings of myths, legends, and fairy tales. These are my favorites. We're just gonna get the Madeline Miller of it all out of the way right off the bat. The Song of Achilles is a retelling of the Trojan War as told through the perspective of Patroclus, who was Achilles' best friend. Circe was my introduction to feminist Greek myth retellings. And every time I read another one, this is what I'm comparing it to. Continuing with Greek mythology, I really love Jennifer Saint. I've read most of her books, but my favorite is Ariadne. You may have heard of the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. Ariadne actually helps Theseus make his way through the labyrinth. I love the way that this myth is told through Ariadne's perspective and the way it flips things around. East by Edith Patou and The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden are both retellings of the fairy tale East of the Moon, West of the Sun, but they're both very different. The Bear and the Nightingale is more of a loose retelling. It more so takes inspiration and also pulls a lot from Russian and Romanian folklore. East, however, pulls more from the structure of the story, which is also very similar to Beauty and the Beast and the myth of Psyche and Eros. The Witch's Heart is about one of Loki's wives, Angerboda, so we're dealing with Norse mythology here. I'm not very familiar with Norse mythology, but I think she was just kind of there. She was the mother to 3 of Loki's monster children, and I love the view of motherhood in this story. I love Ava Reed, and Juniper and Thorn is a retelling of the fairy tale called The Juniper Tree, but it's very dark and gruesome and disgusting and uncomfortable, so obviously I love it. I don't know anything about this original fairy tale, so I don't know how to compare it, but still I love this. Tiger Lily is a retelling of Peter Pan, but from Tiger Lily's perspective. This story is gorgeous and heartbreaking, especially for YA. Like, it's about first love and heartbreak, but it's also coming of age. And of course it's set in Neverland, so it's very whimsical, but also a little bit dark. I don't think I've seen a single person mention this book on Book Talk. Cinder by Marissa Meyer and the entire Lunar Chronicles. It's sci-fi. Each book does retell a different fairy tale, but the story builds on itself, so it's a linear narrative. We've got a Cinderella retelling, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. They're literally so much fun. And I Darken is not a myth or fairy tale retelling, and it's not technically fantasy. It is a gender-bent retelling of Vlad the Impaler, who was a conqueror in the Ottoman Empire. I'm pretty sure he was one of the inspirations for Dracula, but in this version of the story, he is born a woman. While these books aren't fantasy, they definitely read like it because it's basically about kingdoms warring against each other. But these books are so good. Let me know what other fantasy, fairy tale, and myth retellings I should add to my TBR.